All right. Okay. So check it out. Here lately we've been hearing about how they've been saying that people on the right are, the biggest threat. We hear that constantly. You remember Joe Biden? He did a whole speech where it looked all demonic. You remember it was all red behind him, and the lighting, everything. It was like it was really demonic, right? Even just the imagery, everything. Well, there's been a lot of things that Biden has been doing here lately, and it's not even Biden, it's the people around him. And he has no issues with it because he's right there in the midst of it. But they've been doing all this stuff, and it's been really looking more and more demonic. If you just look at it, you'll see stuff, and people are really starting to take notice to it. Especially after he did this speech where it looked like he was in the middle of hell, and he's doing this speech. And the most interesting thing about it, of course, is because interesting to me, at least, is that he's wanting everybody to go after those on the right. Like we've done something. Like we were the ones that were going around in 2020 and just burning down cities and attacking people when it wasn't people on the right. It was Antifa, BLM. It was leftist, communist, socialist, Democrats that were doing it. We all know this to be true because we all saw it. We were there. We were there. But the biggest thing to me is that how the left, they constantly say that Republicans, mega Republicans, right wingers, they say all this about those on the right, but they just mouth it off. They just constantly say it. It's not actually happening. It's not happening. And even now that Biden signed this bill for the sodomy bill, they're saying that there's attacks on children where they're just, again, mouthing it off. It's like the lie they keep telling over and over, and people are believing it. Like, where's the video of all this attacks that they're talking about? Where's it at? Where's the documentation on it? Where's the tweets at it? At least produce a tweet showing where, right wingers were actually calling for violence against people living an alternate lifestyle. Show it, but they don't show that. But you know what we can show? We can show how the left, and I've showed a video before, and I've showed it on my Rumble, where they've gone through and they just demolish stuff, burn up stuff, destroy stuff, and this was all the left doing this. And they say nothing about that. They talk about those on the right doing this stuff, but they're the ones doing it. You understand what I'm saying? And y'all have heard that before. They blame everybody for everything that they do. For everything that they're doing, they push it and blame everybody else. Well, let me give you an example. And here's the proof of it. And this is really an awesome video, because apparently this young lady is asking the questions of these people, and they're leftists, and she's asking them a question about rhetoric. Is rhetoric a threat to democracy? And she just wanted a yes or no question. And they say yes, yes, yes. And then she even goes on talking about, well, what about rhetoric online? Would you say it's a threat to our democracy? And she goes down the line and they all say, yes, 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 it is a threat. It is a threat, right? They all say it. And they've been saying this for the longest, right? When you say something that they don't like, oh my goodness, it's a threat to our democracy because you hurt my feelings. So they got this thing where they constantly regurgitate that over and over. Now listen to this interaction because this is so awesome. Even this lady shows proof, but see, it's different, right? In this case, when they show proof of the left saying all of this rhetoric, calling for violence, it's different when they do it. Why is it different when they do it? So the right, you don't see them, at least I don't. Maybe someone can send me a screenshot of someone on the right saying, oh, we got to do this and go do that. I'm pretty sure there's some out there, but we can go less than 5 minutes, less than 2 minutes, go on Twitter, and you can find some leftists calling for some kind of violence against somebody. But that's okay. They don't see that the same. This is absolute proof that these people are straight up evil, and they don't even see their evilness. And then when it's presented to them, oh, you're taking it out of context. It's different. It's different when they do it. Check this out.
of the aisle. Threats to our democracy come from those who seek to undermine our Constitution and our three branches of government. We've got to take a stand to support the Constitution and the rule of law against those who debase our society with violence or harassment of government officials carrying out their constitutional duties, for example. I have a few simple yes or no questions I would like to ask the panelists today. My first one is, do you believe that rhetoric, that rhetoric is a way to inflict harm on our democracy, people's words? Mr. Ward, yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Ms. Caraballo?
Yes.
Mrs. Astronomani?
Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Tyler? Ms. McCord?
Yes.
Is rhetoric on social media a problem and a threat to our democracy, Mr. Ward?
Yes, absolutely.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Ms. Caraballo?
Yes.
Ms. Nomani?
Yes.
Ms. Tyler?
Yes.
Yes.
Another question I have, do you believe that rhetoric targeting officials with violence for carrying out their constitutional duties is a threat to democracy, Mr. Ward? Okay.
Let me say this before she goes on, because now she's about to get ready to get into the meat of it. And I don't know if y'all paid attention here, because I want to make sure that y'all see everything that's happening here. If you look behind her, there's one of those stands that holds up billboards. Now she's asking these people these questions for a reason. This young lady's on fire. I've never seen her before. Didn't even know she existed. But that sign behind her, I want y'all to pay attention. Listen to the question she's asking about the rhetoric online, right? The rhetoric. And you know good and well Will Johnson has never called for any violence. I've never called for it. I'm always speaking out against it. I know people who want it. I do. I know people who want violence, but I'm always speaking out against violence. My point is that the left, they're always saying it's only those on the right that wants violence and is calling for violence, and it's completely false. Now, pay attention and look at that billboard sign.
Siegel?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. Only a few weeks after the attempted attack on a Supreme Court justice on June 25th, one of the witnesses, Alejandra Caraballo, tweeted out the following in response to a decision on abortion overturning Roe v. Wade, and I'll quote directly from the tweet: "The 6 justices who overturned Roe should never know peace again. It is our civic duty to accost them every time they're in public. They are pariahs. Since women don't have their rights, these justices should never have a peaceful moment in public again." I know something about being accosted. The night.
Let me stop it. She purposely asked these witnesses these questions about the rhetoric online about being threatful and calling for violence against people. And these witnesses all said that it's a threat to our democracy. And now she's taking the witnesses that they're right in front of her. She has tweets from them. These are tweets from them calling for rhetoric, calling the rhetoric that she's talking about, calling for the violence against people. She got their tweets. Now watch how they respond to it. This is classic.
January 5th, I was physically accosted on the streets of DC in Navy Yard by a constituent of mine. I fervently blamed rhetoric on social media, rhetoric at public events, for being physically accosted. I carry a gun everywhere I go when I am in my district and I'm at home, because I know personally that rhetoric has consequences. I've had my car keyed. I've had my house spray painted. I had someone trespass in my house as recently as doxed on social media about where I live. And I've had to add to security everywhere I go. Often, because I can't afford it, I have to carry my own firearm wherever I go. And Alejandra Caraballo also recently tweeted on November 19th, not even a month ago, that the Supreme Court, vested with the judicial power of the United States by our Constitution, stated they are not a legitimate court issuing decisions. And also the Supreme Court is an organ of the far right. So my last question today of Ms. Caraballo: do you stand by these comments, this kind of rhetoric on social media?
Now, Let me stop it. Because now this leftist that tweeted it, and this is her tweet. The young lady that's just asked a question that put the billboard up, the witness, that's the witness's tweet. And she just asked her, what do you think about this rhetoric that you put out on social media, on Twitter? This is the classic example of the left wing. This is all of them. They blame everybody on the right for what they're doing. And finally, and I'm saying finally, and I'm pretty sure, like Jim Jordan and some other ones have done this before, but this is the first time that I've actually seen them call these people out for the rhetoric that they're doing online. But see, it's okay when they do it. Listen.
And do you believe it's a threat to democracy?
Thank you, Representative, for the opportunity to clarify and provide context to my tweets.
I have a question. Is it yes or no? Do you believe your rhetoric is a threat to democracy when you're calling to accost a branch of government, the Supreme Court?
I don't believe that's a correct characterization
What
of
you
my
tweeted,
statements.
though. Did you not tweet that? That you thought that the Supreme Court justices should be accosted?
What I'm
you
saying
tweet
is
that,
that
yes or
that is
no?
not an
Did you tweet
accurate characterization of my statements.
On June 8th of this year, a man was arrested near Justice Brett Kavanaugh's home in Maryland. He told law enforcement officers he wanted to kill a Supreme Court justice. He was found with a knife, with a pistol, 2 magazines, ammunition, pepper spray, zip ties, a hammer, crowbar, and duct tape. The threats that members of Congress, the threats that branches of government face on the left and the right, as was mentioned by the chairman earlier in the committee hearing, what happened to the speaker's husband is every member's worst nightmare. So it's clear to me that we have to call out the threats to our democracy emanating from wherever they come, whether it's the right or the left. It is incumbent upon every one of us to call it out on both sides of the political spectrum and recommit ourselves to the Constitution and the rule of law. I look forward to working with anyone, Republican or Democrat, as you know, Mr. Chairman, to address these threats from within and without. And I look forward to inviting more people who actually know what they're talking about to our witness panels in the 118th.
And that's the end of this clip. But it's just really something that this lady here, let me go to it right here. Right here. The lady right here, she was like, let me clarify. I mean, the reason why she didn't let her clarify and go into more detail about it is because she was running out of time. And how do you clarify it? That's her tweet. She put it out there. She said that. And now she comes on here and obviously she's here because they want like a position and something. And she said this rhetoric. She called for violence against the justices. How does this work? The left, they can, and I'm always saying this, the left, they can be violent. They can go violent. You have Kamala Harris where she's mentioned that she'll bail them out. The other Democrats talking about they'll bail them out. They were happy that this violence acts were taking place. They had no issues with the violence taking place. It was like they were completely okay with it. It was no issue. We saw it, the summer of love. It was over $1 billion in insurance policies that were filed because of all of the damage that they did. But we're supposed to grow amnesia and act like, none of that ever happened. Oh, that didn't happen. Or they have it in their minds that it was just. It was justice that they were doing that because they hated President Trump and they hate America so much. It's okay to burn it down as long as they get what they want. They put those tweets out there. They actually called for violence out there. They were saying that none of them should ever be able to rest. Calling papyrus, right? Calling the Supreme Court justice members papyrus. Really? That's the same thing Biden did. And when Biden went over to Saudi Arabia, they just gave him a fist bump. Did y'all see the Chinese president go to Saudi Arabia here shortly? He showed up and he got the same welcome that President Trump got. Imagine that. Biden didn't get that. Biden just got a fist bump. They didn't even meet Biden at the airport. They didn't have no parade. They have music, none of that. They had Biden come show up and they gave him a fist bump. Okay, come on in here. You can go in there and change your diaper. That's all it was. But these people, they lie in day in and day out. They're very comfortable lying. That's why so many people can't stand watching the Communist News Network or MSSTD. They can't stand watching them because these people know that they're lying and they feel comfortable lying. Let me break it up here, because I'm always talking about politics, and this is still kind of politics. I talk about politics and religion. But this issue here is really kind of weird to me. Did you know a group of scientists, to my understanding, out of California, and I used to go by this facility every day. When I would go into work every single day, I would pass by this facility. And it's a technology facility in California where they've actually, according to them, but it was being reported that they've actually created a fusion. They have fusion energy now, right? And some people go, well, they've already had it. They had it for a long time ago. It's been on paper. But according to the latest reports, they've actually successfully started up fusion and can apply to it, can access it, can utilize it, according to the reports. But regardless of all, when people think it was created or not created, listen to this. This is how they bring politics into it, right? Instead of like a fusion reactor, instead of say, okay, look, we got a fusion reactor. We have a new way of creating energy. Instead of leaving the politics out of it, they just bring politics into it. And they're trying to make it look like, well, Biden gets all of the credit. The Biden and the Democrats get all of the credit. I don't think so, because they've been working on this for years. This just didn't happen. The only reason why they're saying they get credit because they successfully gotten to this point with it now. So then, of course, like they do with everything else, they take the credit. Or when there's a crisis, they come in and try to act like they're here to save the day. But listen how she politicizes this. Listen how she brings the wokeness into this, which the wokeness has nothing to do with it. You can't make it up.
Today's announcement is a huge step forward to the president's goal of achieving commercial fusion within a decade. But there's still a lot more to do, so much more. We'll continue to work toward that goal and find other ways to progress to reach fusion energy. So, for example, in September, the Department of Energy made a $50 million investment for public-private partnerships to start working toward fusion pilot plant designs. And we're partnering with the Office of Science and Technology Policy to map out the president's bold vision for driving that commercial fusion in the next decade with the highest safety standards, with cost-effective, equitable.
Now, of course, see, they're trying to give Biden all credit for this. This is not something that they just happened to do within the last 2 years. And then, oh, look at this. People have been talking about fusion reactors and fusion energy for years. I get it. But point is here is listen how she brings the wokeness into this. And wokeness has nothing to do with energy.
Equitable deployment that positions American businesses to lead and communities to thrive, and with a skilled workforce that's diverse and inclusive.
What? Do you see that? That's where the wokeness comes in. A diverse workforce, inclusiveness. You hear this? What in the world does that got to do with anything when it comes to fusion? What does it have to do with it? It has nothing to do with anything. They find every single moment, every breathtaking moment that they have to introduce wokeism for everything that they're doing.
To thrive, and with a skilled workforce that's diverse and inclusive. This is what it looks like for America to lead.
You understand what I'm saying? What? See, this is what makes it a big turnoff, because they introduce wokeism in everything, and it has nothing to do with anything. No one cares about who you think you might like or who you think you might want to be with. No one cares, or at least I don't care. Why does that? What does that got to do with fusion? A fusion reactor, a fusion factory? Please tell me, what does that got to do with it? Just hire people that's qualified to do the job and be done with it. Be done with it. If you can't get black people to go out and try to find jobs to work in Fusion, right? If there are people, black people are not going applying for those jobs, then maybe you should go to the black community and get them to stop being crime ridden and start getting them to try to educate their children. Maybe that's the solution, instead of trying to force companies to hire people that don't even want to even be there. Oh, I'm only here and collecting a paycheck because of my color. How degrading is that? How degrading is that? At least it is degrading to me. I've never wanted someone to hire me because of my color. I wanted to be hired because they knew I could do the job. And I did IT for 20 plus years, and I was really good at it. I was really good at it. I was so good at it, and I'm not to toot my own horn here, but I was so good at it when I was working in Silicon Valley with a whole bunch of people from India. But almost half of the people working in IT there is from India. I was running circles around them. And that says a lot. Because, see, I knew my job. And it wasn't about color. Color had nothing to do with it. Nothing. I'm so sick of it. I'm sick of it. All right, let me go on to talking about Bidenflation. You know, Bidenflation is really causing a lot of problems in the country. And now that we have all of these illegals coming into the country, it's really going to cause the inflation to go back up even more. And what's interesting is that with the inflation went up to 8.2 and then it goes down to 7.7, and then they're all celebrating. When President Trump was in office, it was like 1.7. But they're celebrating because it's like 7.4, 7.7, 7.8, 7.9. It's high as all get out. And they're still, oh, look, we brought the inflation down. What? People still are hurting when you go to the grocery store. People still are hurting. I'm feeling it firsthand. I'm still hurting. I can't, I go to the grocery. I'll be honest with you. I haven't gone to the grocery store in about a week and a half, and probably a little bit longer than that. It's been a minute since I've gone to the grocery store. And the reason being because I'm cutting back. I have to. I don't have a choice. I don't have the money to go get it. This is wild and it's hurtful. And now they're talking about that this is going to continue for a year. And then they're talking about Medicare. Can we talk about Medicare here? Can we talk about Medicare? Well, listen to Senator Kenney. This young man he's so spot on, and I love his expressions and the way he explains what's going on because it's so down to earth.
But in order to solve this problem, we have got to do something now. And there are millions of Americans out there that are looking at an 8.5% cut to Medicare. When we have an 8% inflation, that's a 16-point swing. And those millions of people are not just physicians or nurses. They're patients who depend on Medicare for life and death. So I hope that the chairman of finance, who is whip smart, will consider my proposal. It would postpone the pay-go cuts of 4%, and it would freeze the current fee schedule. If the new fee schedule goes into effect, we're going to have another 4.5% cut. That's how I get the 8.5%. And it would pay for it. It wouldn't increase debt at all.
But we already know that the Democrats don't care about that. They don't. And what's really interesting to me is how the Democrats constantly talk about how the Republicans don't want you to have Medicare. They don't want you to have health care, which is a whole bunch of lies. We all know this. But again, just like everything else, they just mouth it off without actually showing any proof. They're just telling people what they want you to believe. They're telling you the lies, but you got to believe the lies. That's all that it comes down to. It really does. let me share something else with you. You remember I don't know if y'all remember this, but there's a video going around where Jill Biden is sitting on a panel, and this lady is telling Jill Biden that her and Joe Biden has done so much more than FDR, even more than any other president ever in the White House, ever. And I'm like, what in the world? Again, these are just straight up lies, and they don't have any issues telling the lies. Listen to this.
Woke teachers union boss Randy Weingarten is raising eyebrows for saying this about President Biden's record.
Say for a second what you and what the president has done. I mean, I can't even remember all the mnemonics of all the things that have been done. I'm a history teacher. It is more than any other president since FDR, and maybe more than FDR.
Well, critics say Weingarten's agenda has been in lockstep with the Biden administration for keeping schools closed, kids masked up, and for pushing critical race theory in the classroom. Joining us now to discuss is our lovely mom panel, Keisha King, Holly Teray, and Dana Hensley. Good morning to you all. Holly, how do you feel about Randy Weingarten's comment about President Biden?
It's absolutely absurd. We're talking about a union boss and the worst rated president in America's history. They're just happy, Randy Weingarten, AFT, that Biden was able to keep the schools as closed as long as he did. Ultimately creating more educational disparities in our nation and really solidifying the need for educational choice for many parents.
Yeah.
You know what? And that's exactly what took place. So many kids are now left behind. So many. And if I remember correctly, and I was young when this was happening, but if I'm not mistaken, was it Bill Clinton? Someone can help me out that remembers, because I wasn't into politics during that time. But Bill Clinton, I think it was Bill Clinton, or maybe it was Bush, but they had a program. This is the program I remember. Someone can help me out here. The program was that it was no kid left behind. Do y'all remember that? No kid left behind. Well, what the Democrats did, they caused every kid to be left behind. Every kid to be left behind. And now the kids are like 2 or 3 years. And put it this way. The kids were already having issues when it comes to the rest of the world, the kids here in America, and then they just really damaged the children even that much more. They crushed the education system here in America. And then they get upset because parents want to show up about the education that their teachers are pushing onto them. And they don't want the wokeness pushed onto them any longer. They don't want it. They don't want it. All right, so this one's going to be a little bit short on Facebook tonight and YouTube. Thank you so much for being with me. If you want to join me over on Rumble for the rest of the story, for the rest, actually, I put a in the description on YouTube. I put it there because a lot of people have been requesting it on there, and I haven't put it on Facebook because if I put it on Facebook, they don't let you see it. They have done something really sinister to my Facebook account, because if I put comments on there sometimes, and I put links to my website, they don't allow you to get it. But I put it on the description on YouTube. You should be able to see it there on YouTube, so you can make it really easy for you. And then another easy way for those of you that want to come over and see what else I have to share with you, go to the bottom link that you see there, www.uaf.media, and just click on Rumble, and it'll take you directly to the live feed, which you're watching right now. Okay, so join me and the others over on Rumble right now to hear the rest of the story, because the rest of the story is pretty powerful. And of course, I can't share it on these other socialist media platforms because of obvious reasons, as I'm always saying. So for everyone that wants to join me over there, I will see you over there. And for the people that want to remain on Facebook and YouTube, I get it. I understand. Thank you so much for liking, following the video, and subscribing to my page and my channel. God bless you all over there. And I will see all of you